Good afternoon, Capitol Hill United Ministries. I'm grateful for the chance to be with you, even if we are separated by both space and time in this apparently endless pandemic. Whoever and wherever you are, I hope you are healthy and well in body and in spirit. I want to give a brief shout out of thanks and appreciation for the Capitol Hill United Ministries leadership team. That's Deanna Flahey, Reverend Brian Henderson, Reverend Chris Gilmore, Bonita Bach, Cass Cronin, and Charlie Pfizer. Thanks also to Sonia Yeager-Meeks and Deborah Yeager for the music, and especially to Sonia for doing the electronic wizardry that's making this broadcast happen. Before I begin my charge for today, I was charged with speaking to you about courage. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge with you just how hard the past year and a half has been. Very few people I know have been mostly unaffected. Most people I know have had their lives turned upside down and inside out with worry and stress, uncertainty, illness, loss of job or income, disruption to work, ministry, family, schools, on, and it's not over yet. Whoever you are, workers, execs, volunteers, faith leaders, agencies providing services to vulnerable populations, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for keeping on in the face of an unpredictable and difficult circumstances. I believe most people have been traumatized by the past year and a half in one way or another. And I want you to know you're not alone. You are a warrior, a torchbearer, a rock in a crazy river, and you deserve to have your trauma acknowledged and ministered to and cared for. I dearly hope whoever you are, you're taking good care of yourself. And being easy on yourself, being kind to yourself, allowing yourself to be loved and cared for in whatever way is available or accessible to you, you deserve it. You may not know it, but I know it. And I'm telling you, be kind to yourself. It's okay. You deserve it. So my favorite way to talk about courage is to share a teaching story from Ethiopia. I no longer remember where I learned this from. But a long time ago, a woman in a certain village adopted a boy whose parents had died of a disease. She had no children of her own, and she really wanted this boy to love her. The boy, however, was still grieving for the parents he had lost and would hardly even look at her, even when she gave him food. And she thought she would ask advice from a wise healer in the next village, see if there was some magic that could make the child love her. She went to see this healer, and they said to her, "There is a special drink which I can make for you to give the boy, and when the child drinks it, he will love you as his mother." "Oh, please make this for me," the woman begged. The healer raised one finger. "It is difficult to make. It requires the whisker of a living lion." The woman felt her heart pound in her chest. Lions are ferocious. Lions are dangerous. What a fearful task. But she thought to herself, she thought about the boy and said to herself, I will find a way to get this whisker, and away she went. Next afternoon, she took some meat to a pond where lion tracks had been seen, and she put the meat by the water and hid behind a tree to wait, and sure enough, around dusk, a lion came. And she knew by the way the lion sniffed the air and looked in her direction that the lion knew she was there. But he was satisfied with the meat and did not bother her. The next evening she did the same thing. The lion sniffed the air, clearly knew she was there, but did not approach her, and was satisfied with the offering. The next evening she did the same thing, but she did not hide behind the tree. She crouched on the path where he could see her. And she was very frightened when the lion looked at her, but she did not run away. And every day she did this, and every day she waited a little bit closer to where the lion ate, and at last, after 2 months of this, she was placing the meat right in front of the lion and waiting just a few feet away. And the lion would eat the meat quickly, his great teeth gleaming in the sunlight. And the woman was terrified, but she thought of the boy, and she did not run away. So after 3 months, there came a night when the woman placed the meat on the ground and did not move. The lion approached the meat, sniffed her before eating, lowered his head to the meat, and the woman, as he did so, reached out and plucked one whisker out of his cheek. The lion growled, but did not attack her, and then left. The next morning, the woman hurried to the village where the wise healer was with the lion's whisker, and the healer looked at astonishment at the whisker, and then smiled. You now have everything you need to win the boy's love, he said. The drink? You'll make me the drink? The woman asked. The healer put a hand on the woman's arm. You do not need a magic drink. You have learned how to win the boy's love with patience, with courage, and with not running away. And when the woman went home, she found she could think of the boy with the same kind of respect as a lion and approach him with the same patience. And eventually, the boy did come to love her as his own mother. So like all good teaching stories, right, this one contains many, many levels of symbolism. But let's see if we can get a little clearer on just what courage is. So the whole framework for courage in Western civilization comes from the ancient Greeks, primarily Aristotle and Nicomachean ethics. The pressing question for Aristotle was moral excellence. Like, what is moral excellence and how does one achieve it? And Aristotle's answer was pragmatic and empirical. You get closer to moral excellence by doing morally excellent things. It's not just some static state of being or something you can claim if it only exists in your intentions instead of in your actions. It's certainly not something you can claim if it just remains in your head. You got to act. You have to do. You have to create. You have to engage. You've got to be the actual cause of some actual effect. Like, note, if you will, that actual begins with the word act, as in action, activity, activate, and a slew of related words like accomplish and achieve. Whereas one of my mentors once said to me, Mike, it's not rocket science. Self-esteem arises from the self doing things worthy of esteem. So to Aristotle, the virtuous person is someone who does not succumb to the temptations of either imperviousness on one hand or or being scared witless on the other. The first one leads to recklessness and stupidity, and the second one to cowardice or being frozen into inaction. So to Aristotle, either of these extremes were merely vices, and so becoming a virtuous person, becoming a courageous person, was about practice. It was about getting into situations that might tempt you into either imperviousness or terror. But you don't give in to those, and you learn how to not give in to those by doing it over and over as you develop and demonstrate your character. And that's where Aristotle stopped. But subsequent philosophers have noted that the unanswered question in Aristotle's musing is the question of motivation. That is, why is it someone would even want to be courageous? Why on earth would we willingly choose to learn such hard lessons? How do we stay the course when temptation for an easier option will always be there? And the answer to that is relationship. The answer is community. The answer is connection, our sense of belonging to others, or our sense of others belonging to us. The answer is love. We learn by imitating behavior that we admire. we find courage. That is, we are literally encouraged by the love that we long for, the love that we give, the love we allow ourselves to receive. I think about all the stories I've heard about people who've run into burning buildings or put themselves at great risk to save someone, and so many of them, when asked why they did that, they answer something like, well, because they would have done it for me, or something very like that. I think about the people who marched in Selma and Montgomery and Washington, D.C. and Atlanta and Chicago and Kenosha and Oakland, knowing they would be attacked by police, knowing they would be in danger, and they went anyway. I think about all the people marching in the streets these days, these past few years, standing up against police brutality, putting themselves at risk of judgment, of exposure to COVID-19, and of personal injury, because there appears, God willing and sanity prevailing, there appears to be in this world a growing recognition that until black and brown lives are valued as much as white ones, like systemically, culturally, materially, until that time comes, none of us are truly free. Not ourselves, not the people who love us, not the people we love. I think about some of the people who are watching this right now. People who took risks, physical risks, career risks, social and family risks, to make sure there were places in this city where homeless people could sleep safely out of the wind. And I think about the people who don't have a safe place to sleep, who don't have a steady source of decent food for their bodies, or the comfort of a chair to sit in when they're tired, and how they keep getting up and keep walking and keep trying despite exhaustion, despite being sick, despite physical ailments and emotional scars that no one will ever see. And those of you who serve these precious souls, you know this, but I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you, serving the poor takes patience and courage and not running away. It takes demonstrating that all of God's children deserve respect and dignity. How do we do that? How do we stay the course when temptation for an easier option will always be there? The answer is relationship. The answer is community, connection, our sense of belonging to others, our sense that others belong to us. The answer is love. So take courage, friends. Blessed is the work of your hands and hearts and minds. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Amen. And thank you for this opportunity to share with you today.